There's the book of Hebrews, chapter 1 and verse 13. But to which of the angels said he at any time, sit on my right hand until I make thy enemies thy footstool? Are they not all ministering spirits sent forth to minister for them who shall be heirs of salvation? First off, I want to give all honor, all glory, and all praises to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Raha Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone GMS to rule well. Shalom to the 144,000 and the rest of the elect. And may peace and salutations be multiplied unto all the Akim and Akwaf tuning in. This is Brother Halal from the Great Millstone Chicago camp coming at you with another lesson. And this topic recently resurfaced, from a NASA scientist that was interviewed that basically made a claim that he had an encounter with quote unquote 7-foot tall alien race that looked like African Americans. And people are saying that it's the Anunnaki and all this bugged out shit. Well, truth be known, these beings, these extraterrestrial celestial beings that this NASA scientist claimed that he had an encounter with, they're not the Anunnaki and they're not aliens, man. That NASA scientist had an encounter with the angels of Yahweh Yahweh Shai. And he even said that they look like a race that had not been conquered, because they haven't and they can't be. The angels of Yahweh Yahweh Shai cannot be conquered, man. There are powers that this earth has not yet been witness to, but they're about to be as we come into these last days. But I want to play this video. This from the brother at the page Fight of Faith. The video is called NASA Scientists Saw 7-foot tall aliens, was really angels, and said that they're tall and look like African Americans. So I'm going to let this video play, and may this lesson be edifying to the elect.
Say 7 feet would be probably a conservative estimate.
Huge cigar-shaped ship appeared over the Air Force base. These cigar-shaped ships were over a mile in length. One of them landed on the airport landing strip area. The back of this craft opened up, and several hundred young men with huge, heavy weapons came out of two sides of the ship and formed a protection line around the ship. And the people at that Air Force base, the commander, had a meeting with the individuals that were aboard this ship. And this particular race that landed those ships and that are seen in these huge cigar-shaped ships, they are a black race. They look like African Americans. They were about 6'4", 6'5", huge weapons. And if you've ever seen a race of people that were conquerors, that had never been conquered, they've got this look about them of arrogance. That is exactly what these extraterrestrials had, and they informed these people at this American Air Force base that not only were they from a militaristic society, but they had control a large portion of the galaxy that we live in.
So those were the angels of Yahweh Shai Shai, man, no doubt. He said that they had a look of conquerors who had never been defeated. And then he said that they informed him that they control a large portion of the galaxies that they live in, man. So these are the angels of Yahweh Shai, the extraterrestrials, man. And, people have to understand there are earthly bodies and there are heavenly bodies, So let's get the book of 1 Corinthians, chapter 15. And I'll start at verse 38. It says, verse 38, it says, but the Most High giveth it a body as it hath pleased him, and to every seed his own body. All flesh is not the same flesh, but there is one kind of flesh of men, and another flesh of beasts, another of fishes, and another of birds. There are also celestial bodies and bodies terrestrial, but the glory of the celestial is one, and the glory of the terrestrial is another. So the regular terrestrial bodies, those are the earthly bodies that we're in now. But the celestial bodies, let's go into the Greek word and go into the word celestial.
Strong's G 2032. Epuranios. Epuranios.
Epuranios, and it means existing in heaven, things that take place in heaven, the heavenly regions. So there are these angels, they have heavenly bodies, man. Those mighty, that like the NASA scientists said, they look like a race of conquerors who have never been defeated. You know why? Because they have that glow. They have that mighty countenance. Verse 41, there is one glory of the sun, and another glory of the moon, and another glory of the stars, and one star differeth from another star in glory. So is also the resurrection of the dead. It is sown in corruption and is raised in incorruption. And in the NLT it says it is the same way with the resurrection of the dead. Our earthly bodies are planted into the ground when we die, but they will be raised to live forever. And those are the heavenly bodies, man, when we transition to the spirit world after death. Verse 43, it says it is sown in dishonor, which is the flesh, in these bodies that we sin in every day, which is why we have to constantly repent and ask the Lord to forgive us. It is raised in glory. It is sown in weakness, which is the flesh, but it is raised in power, which are the celestial bodies, man. Because eventually, the elect, when they get delivered by Yahweh B'Shem Al-Shai, they're going to contain the same powerful celestial bodies that the angels have, man. And they're going to be made perfect and made whole once again. And these angels, man, they contain, a lot of power. And no regular mortal man can even stand a chance against any of them. And to prove that, let's go to the 2 Kings, chapter 19, and verse 32. And this is going into when Israel was going into war against the Assyrians, and Sennacherib, which was the king of the Assyrians at the time. This is the book of 2 Kings, chapter 19, and verse 32. And it says, therefore, thus saith the Lord concerning the king of Assyria, he shall not come into the city, nor shoot an arrow there, nor come before it with shield, or cast a bank against it. By the way that he came in, by the same shall he return, and shall not come into the city, saith the Lord. For I will defend this city to save it for my own sake, for my servant David's sake. And this next verse is the point. This is verse 35. And it came to pass that night that the angel of the Lord went out and smote in the camp of the Assyrians 185,000, which you can see on the NLT to the right, because 80 goes into 80. So it said 185,000, which is 185,000 Assyrian soldiers that got put to death by the angel of the Lord, man. Those quote unquote what Esau will call aliens or extraterrestrial beings. It says, and when they arose early in the morning, behold, they were all dead corpses, man. So this is the power that these angels contain. And this is exactly what this NASA scientist described. He said that they look like a race of conquerors who have never been defeated, because they haven't and never will be. And eventually the elect, they're going to be raised up in that same perfection, man. And the angels keep watch over them from day to day. There's the book of Psalms, chapter 91. And I'll start at verse 1. And it says, he that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. I will say of the Lord, he is my refuge and my fortress, my power, in him will I trust. And that's what we're proclaiming right now. We proclaim Yahweh B'Shem Al-Shai as our refuge and our fortress, man. The power that will lead us to salvation and direct our steps in the right manner. Verse 3, surely he shall deliver thee from the snare of the fowler and from the noisome pestilence. He shall cover thee with his feathers, and under his wings shalt thou trust. His truth shall be as thy shield and thy buckler. So the Lord is going to be a refuge unto us, man. So let me go down to the point. Matter of fact, I can read down a little bit more. Verse 5, thou shalt not be afraid for the terror by night, nor for the arrow that flieth by day. So, right, the elect, in the time of trouble that comes upon the earth, you know, Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushai and the angels, they're going to keep charge over the elect, man, and protect them from the sword, from the pestilence, and from all manner of trouble and tribulation that's going to come upon this earth. Verse 6, nor for the pestilence that walketh in darkness, nor for the destruction that wasteth at noonday. 1,000 shall fall at thy side, and 10,000 at thy right hand, but it shall not come nigh unto thee. So there's going to be a lot of death. You know, the elect are going to witness people, you know, dying right in front of them. You know, but in the NLT, let me read the NLT. It says, though 1,000 fall at your side, though 10,000 are dying around you, these evils will not touch you. So none of these evils in pestilence and disease and the sword and famine is going to touch the elect. Verse 8, only with thine eyes shalt thou behold and see the reward of the wicked, because thou hast made the Lord, which is thy refuge, even the Most High, thy habitation. There shall no evil befall thee, neither shall any plague come nigh in thy dwelling. Verse 11, it says, for he shall give his angels charge over thee to keep thee in all thy ways. They shall bear thee up in their hands, lest thou dash thy foot against a stone, man. Hey, so these angels, these extraterrestrial beings, you know, that the earth is currently, you know, freaking out about, they're going to keep charge over those who do the will of Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushai. And eventually, you know, they're going to be delivered. So I'm going to end this off with the book of Matthew, chapter 24. Because, hey, you know, although we have a fear of Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushai, you know, we're not dismayed. You know, we're not, you know, confused at the signs of heaven like these heathen are. So when these heathen hear about angels and extraterrestrial beings and quote-unquote aliens, they get freaked out. But the prophets of Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushai who understand these scriptures, we know what the will of the Lord is, man. And if we continue to obey him, hey, we're not going to fall. You know, what should we be afraid of if we're doing everything that Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushai told us, man? But this is the book of Matthew, chapter 24, and verse 29. It says, immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light. The stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of the heaven shall be shaken. And these are all signs that we are in the end times, man. And we're seeing these things happen. The sun being darkened, solar eclipses, signs in the heavens. These are all indicators that the time of the Lord's return is very much near. So when we look at these signs of heaven, we don't freak out like these other nations do. And when we hear about these angels, man, hey, we know that they're going to keep charge over the elect. And we're actively laboring to be a part of that chosen so that we can receive salvation, man. Verse 30, and then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, Yahushai, and then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven, which are those chariots, like that NASA scientist described. He said that the quote-unquote 7-foot tall angels that they landed in a cigar-shaped ship, those are the chariots, man. You know, what Esau Edom will call a UFO. Those are the chariots of Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushai that are going to beam up the elect. It says, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. And he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other, man. So, hey, when Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushai, when the Lord gives his command to the angels, they're going to deliver the elect, man, from the four corners of the earth. You know, those extraterrestrial beings that NASA scientists claim look like a race of conquerors who had never been defeated, man. You know, so I hope this lesson was edifying. And with that, I want to give all honor, all glory, and all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahushai, Ba'ashim Rachah Kodash. Double honors to the apostles of Great Millstone GMS, Kwam Yashar Allah, Wa Abad Babal. And until the next lesson.